I would very much like to invite Agneta Wannerström, who's the project leader from Skanska in Sweden, who's been very much involved in the whole process for the roadmap for carbon neutral buildings and infrastructure sector in Sweden. So over to you, Agneta. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Sweden is unique in many ways, and I think we used to see Sweden as a country of just right, landet lagom. But we are very unique in many ways, and especially in carbon. From an international perspective, also the roadmaps that the industry has written and processed during the last couple of months is very unique. And I know there are countries around, like in Norway and other countries, looking at Sweden. How did you do it? What are these roadmaps, and why, and how come the industry are delivering these? When Skanska Sweden was asked from Fossil Free Sweden to be a project leader to lead the process of delivering a roadmap for the construction and infrastructure industry, we said yes. And why? Because we actually realized we would not be able to reach our own target, our own carbon target of being carbon neutral, if we didn't get our suppliers on board, if we didn't get our clients asking for carbon neutrality, and if we didn't get help from the political decisions. So we said yes. I'm Agneta Wannerström. I was the project leader for the delivery of the roadmap for the construction and infrastructure sector. And I'll tell you a little bit more about this. This is our Minister for Climate. She's very determined. Isabella Lövin. Sweden, as you may know, has the target to be carbon neutral by 2045. We also have a very ambitious carbon law that's starting in January this year. These are game changers. This will change how we make business. This will change how we make a profit. Now, the Swedish government started the initiative Fossil Free Sweden a few years ago. It was the aim was to gather the industry and other organizations around a common carbon goal, and also to support the negotiations in Paris in 2015. And Svante Axelsson, who is a really admiring person, he has initiated these roadmaps. And today there are around 10, 15 roadmaps going on. Roadmaps that different industry organizations are developing and describe how they will deliver on the Swedish carbon goal. This is a photo from the delivery of the roadmap. 9 of the roadmaps were presented in April for the government. And the construction roadmap for the construction infrastructure industry is a bit unique. It chose actually to have include the whole value chain in the roadmap. The other roadmaps have concentrated on their own direct emissions, but many of them are delivering suppliers to the construction and infrastructure industry, like steel and cement, concrete, forest, etc. So how about the carbon in our industry? The construction and buildings and civil engineering stands for almost 20% of the Sweden's carbon emissions. And the infrastructure, that's the civil engineering, is estimated to stand for around 10%. And as you see from the diagram, we have managed to cut the carbon emissions from the operations of the buildings. It's mainly due to laws, but also to the market. We have the environmental certification systems that work quite well. But if you look at the embodied carbon from construction and civil engineering, they're actually getting higher over the past 20 years. So what is the scenario? Of course, we have to go down to zero. And it has to be both incremental changes, but transformative changes. And there are quite a few studies and research and development projects now that come to more or less the same conclusion. And that is, we see it is fully possible to cut carbon emissions by half, just scaling up existing technology. But we need innovations in order to reach zero and carbon neutrality. During the work with the roadmap, we actually involved around 170 people in seminars, work groups, reference groups, roundtables, etc. And in few of those, we put the question, so how do you regard the carbon transition? And 100% of the participants said, we think collaboration will be crucial in order for us to reach carbon neutrality. And 9 out of 10 said, why are we here? Because, yes, it's very, very crucial for our business, and it will affect our business within 5 years. So I think that's the reason why the engagement and the commitment was such a strong during the process with the roadmap. So what did we agree on? We agreed on that we will reach carbon neutrality in the whole value chain by 2045. That was not the big issue, because that's what we all agreed on when we went into working with this roadmap. But we also decided that we really have to work hard to cut emissions by half by 2030. And these are bold targets, but they are also necessary targets based on what we have to do, what we have to accomplish. And of course, we have to go from a linear resource use to a circular resource use. And we also need a lot of innovations, technical ones, but we also need new business models. How can we make this happen, this carbon transition? Well, there are key factors. Of course, collaboration, strong leadership, and competence. And that has been proven very strong during the process and the work with the roadmap. There were a lot of people taking leadership. And we also see that long-term laws and regulations are necessary in order for us to be able to dare to make those investments that are needed. And circular processes, actually, Sweden is lagging behind developing a circular economy. We have to learn from other countries and other industries how to do it. We also have to secure bio-based resources, both for materials and for fuels. And public procurement. We would like to see the public procurement to really boost the market and drive the market change. And the roadmap also ended up in 26 points of action plan to drive the carbon transition, and it was directed to different key players. 11 of them was directed to the parliament and government, for example, long-term laws and ambitious long-term laws. And also they were directed to all key players, like we all have to set our own targets and action plan. And also for our clients, they have to ask for carbon neutrality or low carbon solutions. And we have a very good example in Sweden. It is the Swedish Transport Administration. And they are leading the way, and thank you for that. And also consultants and architects, they have to put carbon on top and have to integrate from the start and suggest good low-carbon solutions from the beginning of the planning process. And as contractors, well, we have to develop techniques and construction methods that are able to be scaled up. And also we have to, maybe the large ones, have to develop and put some energy in research and development to make it easier for smaller companies to come on board. And the roadmap also contains some kind of description of the journey. It's about how the market and business will develop. It's about the construction phase, and also it's about the operational phase. And the message for the infrastructure is that we have to develop new business models. We have to create incentives so that it will be profitable to come up with low-carbon solutions. And also we have to design in a new way. We have to change our processes. People tell me we are a conservative industry. Yes, we are. We have to think in a different way, totally. We have to learn from each other in a way that we do not actually do today quite well. And we have to learn where the carbon is by doing, for example, carbon footprints. Our clients also have to ask for carbon neutral products. We can have an operational phase that has a very low or zero carbon emissions, but also have to have it in life cycle perspective, so you include the construction or the civil engineering phase, so it's over the life cycle it will be carbon neutral. As a clients, you have to ask for low carbon material, especially concrete and steel. And the suppliers need to guarantee the quality of the new kind of concrete. And also we can reuse resources in a much higher way. For example, circular asphalt. We can deliver 80% old asphalt in the new one. We just have someone to order. We just need someone to order it. And we have to really scale up the reuse of materials. Today in the infrastructure sector, we reuse materials, masses, excavations, etc. But we have to really raise the level from today. And to use the power of digitalization that is going on now, that is changing the industry, but use it in order to be resource efficient. And also electrification and biofuels, of course. As you will hear later on today about the research project, electrification of a quarry, you can actually see that things are happening now. There are innovations going on that will really help us reach and cut carbon costs and emissions in a very good way. And all this will actually cut costs also. So it will be good for business. Today, 68 key players have signed the roadmap, and they are actually representing the larger part of the sector. So if you're not on the list, take a look and consider to join. This will actually change the market. I think these companies and organizations have had a moment now that they're really feeling things are happening, and I want to be part of this. And it will be good for business because my clients want it, and my suppliers want to supply it. And Skanska, as a contractor, we really want to be a contributor to society. So, well, anyway. Be a key player now and be a driver for this carbon transition. It is a game changer, and you can be one of the ones that can tell your children, I did what I understood was important, and we actually did it. We started the change, and we managed to cut carbons and costs. And the second message is act today. No one else will do the job for you. Thank you.